Have you ever climbed into bed, pulled the covers over yourself, and noticed something strange? Your body feels warm, but your feet still feel cold. Maybe you've gotten used to it. You might even think, well, I'm over 60. I guess this is just part of getting older. But here's something worth knowing. Cold feet aren't always simply about age. And there's an especially interesting clue that many people overlook. Sometimes your feet can feel ice cold, even when they're not actually cold to the touch. That difference can tell you something about where that sensation may be coming from. Today, we're going to look at 5 things your body may be telling you when your feet keep feeling cold after 60. Some are completely ordinary. Others are worth paying closer attention to. And by the end, you'll know why the most important question isn't simply, how cold are my feet? It's what else is happening when they're cold. First, why do feet get cold? Before we get into the 5 clues, let's clear up something important. Cold feet by themselves don't automatically mean there's a health problem. Your body is constantly adjusting blood flow to maintain a stable internal temperature. When you're exposed to cold, the small blood vessels near the surface of your skin can narrow. This helps conserve heat for the center of your body. Think of your circulation like a network of roads. When the weather gets cold, your body can temporarily reduce some of the traffic going toward the skin to keep more warmth around your core. And because your feet are relatively far from your heart, they can be among the first places where you notice that change. So if your feet become cold after sitting in a chilly room, walking outside, or spending a long time without moving, that may simply be your body's normal response. The more interesting question is what happens when the environment isn't cold. Do your feet still feel cold? Do they feel cold even when they're warm to someone else's touch? Do you also notice tingling, numbness, cramps, pain, or changes in color? Those patterns give us much more information. So let's start with the simplest possibility. 5. Your feet may simply be responding to temperature sometimes. The explanation really is that simple. Your feet can become cold because your environment is cold. It can also happen when you've been sitting still for a long time. Maybe you're watching television for an hour. Maybe you've been writing. Maybe you've spent most of the afternoon at your desk. Less movement means your muscles aren't working as much to help move blood through the legs. So one simple thing to observe is this: what happens when you get up and move? Do your feet gradually warm up? Does walking around for a few minutes make them feel more comfortable? Does putting on warm socks solve the problem? If so, the cold sensation may simply be related to temperature, inactivity, or your body's normal response to the environment. There's no need to turn every cold foot into a medical mystery. But there's a reason we're starting here. Because the next clue is different. What if your feet feel cold even when they're actually warm? That's when the story becomes much more interesting. 4. Your nerves may be making your feet feel cold. Here's something many people don't realize. Your feet don't just contain blood vessels. They contain an enormous network of nerves that constantly sends information to your brain. Those nerves help you recognize temperature, pressure, touch, and pain. Think of your nerves like the electrical wiring in your home. The room may be perfectly comfortable, but if the wiring sends the wrong signal to the thermostat, the display might tell you something very different. Something similar can happen with sensation. A person may describe their feet as feeling unusually cold, even when the skin isn't particularly cold to the touch. And that sensation can sometimes occur alongside other nerve-related symptoms, such as tingling, burning, numbness, pins and needles, or reduced sensitivity. Peripheral neuropathy is one example of a condition that can affect sensation in the feet. Diabetes is a common cause, but there are other possible causes as well. The important point is this: cold feet alone do not mean you have a nerve problem. But if your feet feel cold while also feeling numb, tingly, burning, or unusually sensitive, that's a pattern worth discussing with your healthcare professional. And there's an easy question you can ask yourself. Are my feet actually cold, or do they simply feel cold? That small distinction can be surprisingly useful. But nerves aren't the only system that can affect how cold you feel. Sometimes the clue may involve your entire body. 3. Your whole body may be more sensitive to cold. Let's say your feet aren't the only thing that feels cold. Maybe you've noticed that you're reaching for a sweater when everyone else seems comfortable. Maybe your hands are cold too. Or perhaps you're feeling unusually tired or lacking energy at the same time. That creates a different pattern. There are several possible reasons someone might become more sensitive to cold. For example, an underactive thyroid can affect metabolism and may be associated with increased sensitivity to cold. Anemia can also occur with symptoms such as fatigue, weakness, or dizziness, and some people may experience cold hands or feet. But here's an important distinction. Cold feet do not diagnose thyroid problems or anemia. These conditions have many possible symptoms, and coldness by itself isn't enough to identify the cause. What matters is whether the cold sensation appears alongside other persistent changes in how you feel. So instead of asking, "Do cold feet mean I have a thyroid problem?" ask, "Have I noticed a broader change in how my body feels?" That's a much more useful question. And now we're getting closer to clues you can actually observe. Because sometimes your feet don't just feel cold. They change color. Let's pause for a moment. Think about the last time your feet felt unusually cold. Were they actually cold when you touched them? Or did they simply feel cold? Did you notice tingling or numbness? Did the skin look different? Did one foot seem colder than the other? And did the feeling happen while you were sitting still or while you were walking? You don't have to diagnose anything from these questions. They are simply ways of noticing the pattern. And that matters because the next two clues can be more meaningful than cold feet by themselves. 2. Your blood vessels may be reacting differently. Here's another pattern that can cause cold fingers or toes. Your small blood vessels can sometimes become unusually narrow in response to cold or stress. One example is called Raynaud's phenomenon. When this happens, blood flow to the fingers or toes can temporarily decrease. A person may notice that the toes become very cold or numb. The skin may also change color. For some people, the toes may look unusually pale. Then they may take on a bluish or purplish appearance. And as blood flow returns, the color can gradually move back toward normal. The important part isn't memorizing the name. It's recognizing the pattern. Does the coldness come on suddenly? Does it happen after exposure to cold? Do your toes change color? Does the sensation improve after you warm up? If you repeatedly notice this kind of pattern, it's worth bringing it up with your healthcare professional. And don't assume that every color change is Raynaud's. There are different possible causes of changes in skin color, and a healthcare professional can help determine what's going on. But now we're getting to the clue I especially want you to remember. Because there's a difference between "my feet are cold" and "my feet are cold and something changes when I walk." That distinction can matter. 1. Your circulation may be giving you a clue. Your feet sit at the very end of a long network of blood vessels. Blood has to travel from your heart, through larger arteries, into smaller vessels, and finally reach the tissues in your feet and toes. So when circulation to the legs is reduced, your feet may sometimes become colder. But here's the key: cold feet alone do not diagnose poor circulation. The bigger clue is what happens alongside the coldness. For example, do your legs begin to ache or cramp when you walk? Does the discomfort improve after you stop and rest? Does one foot consistently feel colder than the other? Have you noticed changes in the color or appearance of your skin? Do your feet feel numb or unusually weak? Or do small sores on your feet seem to take longer than expected to heal? These combinations are more meaningful than simply having cold toes on a winter evening. One condition doctors may consider when these patterns occur is peripheral artery disease, or PAD. PAD involves narrowing of arteries that can reduce blood flow to the legs. It can sometimes cause leg pain with walking, weakness or numbness, a colder foot, and other changes in the feet or legs. But again, this is not something you can diagnose from one symptom. The important lesson is much simpler: pay attention to patterns. If cold feet repeatedly appear alongside walking-related pain, significant color changes, persistent numbness, wounds that don't heal normally, or a noticeably colder foot on one side, that's something worth discussing with a healthcare professional. And the reason isn't to make you afraid. It's because your legs are important to something much bigger: your ability to move comfortably and stay independent. What should you do if your feet are always cold? So what should you actually do with this information? Start with 4 simple questions. First, are your feet actually cold? Or do they simply feel cold? That distinction can point toward very different possibilities. Second, is one foot different from the other? A noticeable difference in temperature, color, or sensation is worth paying attention to. Third, what comes with the coldness: numbness, tingling, burning, cramps, pain while walking, changes in skin color. Those details create the bigger picture. And fourth, does it keep happening? One cold evening isn't the same as a persistent change you've noticed repeatedly over weeks or months. For everyday leg health, simple habits can also help support your overall circulation and mobility. Try not to sit completely still for long periods. Get regular movement that is appropriate for your abilities. Keep your feet comfortably warm when the environment is cold. Eat a balanced diet. And if you smoke, consider talking with your healthcare professional about ways to quit, since smoking can negatively affect blood vessels. None of these habits should be thought of as a magic fix for cold feet. They are simply part of taking care of your overall health. So let's quickly review the 5 clues. Number 5, your feet may simply be responding to cold temperatures or long periods of inactivity. Number 4, your nerves may affect how your feet perceive temperature. Number 3, feeling unusually cold throughout your body can point to broader factors worth discussing with a healthcare professional. Number 2, sudden coldness accompanied by noticeable color changes can be another pattern to pay attention to. And number 1, cold feet combined with walking-related pain, significant changes in sensation, color, or temperature may provide a clue about circulation. But there's one idea I want you to remember. Don't just ask, "Why are my feet cold?" Ask what else is happening when they're cold. That's where the useful information often is. Your body gives you signals all the time. You don't need to fear every signal. You simply need to learn how to notice the pattern. If you've ever wondered why your feet seem colder than they used to, let me know in the comments. And if you find these practical, evidence-informed videos helpful, subscribe to Human Restore. We're here to help you better understand the everyday changes that can come with aging, so you can make informed decisions and keep doing the things that matter to you.